And we start on the roads. There is still chaos near the Mooi River toll plaza. The N3 freeway near Mooi River in the KwaZulu-Natal midlands remains closed to traffic. Clean-up operations are continuing after violent protests last night. Both the north and southbound lanes are still closed after protesters torched as many as 18 trucks. At least 54 people have been arrested and charged with public violence. Officials are warning travellers to avoid the N3 if possible. Well, let's bring you some instant reaction to the story as we're joined on the line by Gavin Kelly, who represents the organisation, the Road Freight Association. Now, Mr. Kelly, good afternoon to you and welcome. So what sort of impact then has this had on the movement of goods to and from the coast?
Good afternoon, Jeremy. Obviously, everyone's a little bit rattled. People are trying to find alternative routes where they're not going to be targeted and have their vehicles and their clients' goods burnt. So that's the first thing that's happened, and secondly, we've got guys counting the costs of damage to their fleets.
So any sense at this point as to what that damage might run into?
Yeah, we've got some figures coming in. The average truck tractor and its trailers, in other words, a combination of vehicles in a truck is about 2.5 to 3 million rand. The cargo on there is about 7 million rand, if you're lucky, otherwise about 10 million rand. So you're looking at about 3.5, 4 million rand per truck. We've had 24 of them destroyed last night, another 3 of them 2 weeks ago. We're looking at about 250 million rand so far that's been lost just in assets. And then we haven't spoken about what's happened to the drivers in terms of their wages, what's happening in terms of their scheduling, and down the line to the consumer, what that impact is going to have.
Did this protest take you by surprise?
Yes, it did. We thought the one that happened 2 weeks ago was the beginning and the end. There were some concerns raised about foreign drivers. That seemed to have been dealt with, and there were processes in place to deal with this. This really caught everyone by surprise.
Just in terms of the foreign drivers issue, that would appear, at least to my understanding, to be the principal reason behind this one and the one a fortnight ago. You're suggesting that the issue has been resolved. In what respect?
Well, the issue's been resolved in two aspects. The first is that we need to find out exactly who these foreign drivers are. So the complainants have been told to come forward with the details and the proof of those drivers being employed. And secondly, there's a standing structure to deal with this under the Bargaining Council, which is a council put together with the Department of Labour, has employees and employers on it, and there are structures to deal with this type of thing. So that's there. The question is this really the issue?
Well, if it's not, what do you think the issue might be?
Well, that's where the speculation lies. It could be something far greater than that. It could be perhaps a new union that wants to flex its muscle and show that in the coming negotiations they are a force to be reckoned with. It could be just common criminality.
Given, Mr. Kelly, that this is the second time this has happened in 2 weeks now, surely it would behoove the Road Freight Association itself to perhaps be a little bit more vigorous in its own investigation, instead of, for instance, waiting for complainants to come forward.
Now, obviously, Jeremy, that's something that we have started to push. There is a standard system, as I said, for complainants to come forward, but we're now trying to make sure that the process is speeded up, that parties get to the table and actually come forward with what the issue is. So yes, we have started to increase our efforts in that regard.
Just in terms of precautions then that the industry might need to take going forward, I'm assuming that is also a strategy that you're starting to investigate.
Yes, there are some things we've put in place already, obviously, that I don't want to talk about, but it's really going to be difficult. I think our biggest concern is that this will spread around the country. At the moment, it's only on one national highway. We don't want to see this going to other highways. But yeah, we've got a couple of plans in place.
Have you reached a point yet, or might you reach a point soon, where perhaps more drastic measures need to be taken? In other words, having security personnel riding in the cab with drivers?
Not yet. No, we haven't reached that yet.
But it would be something that you would need to consider, surely, if this trend continues.
Yes, and escorting of vehicles, obviously.
Are you satisfied with the police's response to all of this?
In the beginning, we weren't. we felt that they were very slow in preventing what happened in the very first incident a fortnight ago. Since then, they have obviously realized this is a bigger threat than everyone thought it would be. And what has happened in the last 48 hours, it seems that the police have responded. Obviously, I have not been down on the ground there all the time to be able to say what they have or haven't done, but the response seems to have been better this time around.
And Mr. Kelly, just a final question then. We are headlining this lunchtime that the road remains closed near Mooi River. I'm also seeing conflicting reports saying that one lane might now be open. What's your understanding of it at this time?
At this stage, it is still closed.
Both sides of the highway?
Both sides, yes, yes.
All right, Gavin Kelly, thank you very much indeed. He represents the Road Freight Association. Let me